welcome to Sidebar, Holli. So I would love to hear a little bit more about you before we get started into some of the questions that Kenny and I have for you.
Right. Yeah, so Holli Alexander, I actually work in sustainability for Eastman. We're a raw material supplier based in Kingsport, Tennessee. So really excited to talk to you guys about some of the things that we're doing.
Wow.
Great.
Amazing.
Thanks so much, Holli. I mean, just to start off with a question about challenges, what are some of the challenges that you face in creating a circular economy in this field?
Yeah, great question. Lots of challenges. We have no shortage of challenges. But from an Eastman standpoint, as a raw material supplier, one of the things that we're working on are plastics, right? Plastics have a lot of great environmental opportunity, but there are a lot of challenges around them, and it's challenging to recycle them sometimes. So where Eastman is playing is we've been a virgin plastic manufacturer for decades, and what we're doing now is we're looking at technologies that give us a chance to start to use plastics and textiles and things like that have already been used and take those back and use them as basically the feedstocks to make plastics and new materials from them. So we're producing them from goods that have already been done instead of extracting hydrocarbons from the earth to make new materials. So we're really excited, but we're leaning in with this technology called molecular recycling to really reimagine and produce the materials that many of our customers are already used to using and show up in the products that we all touch every day.
And just to make sure I understand, I'm not lost here, you're talking about post-consumer plastics?
Yeah, so
and turning that
post-consumer,
into
absolutely. And I think from an Eastman standpoint, like we don't want any plastics to go to the landfill or go to incineration unnecessarily. So there might be streams where you have pre-consumer material, but the focus and really what we're trying to get and what we want to source is going to be post-consumer, because those are the items that need a new home. We don't want them going to landfill. We don't want them going there, but it's a chance for us to start to pull those in. But whether it's textiles or carpet or packaging that isn't a good candidate for mechanical recycling.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And for companies that are beginning to make this transition towards more circular solutions, what advice do you have, given your experience at Eastman working on circularity?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's really complicated, I think, to jump into this space. And I think what we find is that for a lot of material companies, we do innovation. We do product innovation. So what we do is we create a new product based on a demand from a customer, and we put it on the market, right? This is so different because now we're dealing with system change, right? And so now it's not just necessarily that we're making something different, but how do we get this broader system to embrace it? So when we think about molecular recycling, where do we get the plastics? Because you know what? Nobody's just collecting stuff and piling it up in case there might be an end market. So how do we create those? How do we start to get definitions of recycling and recycled content to reflect a new paradigm for this? But most importantly, you really have to think within this broader system, is the solution creating the change that you want? And so from an Eastman standpoint, we want to make sure that these technologies adhere to a reduce, reuse, recycle model, right? This isn't an excuse to proliferate the world with more plastics, but how can we make them differently? We also want to make sure that it's very complementary to mechanical recycling. So how do we fit these things in together so they can work more closely together? But we also, it's really important too, to understand what that broader stakeholder set thinks about it and where their concerns are. When you think about policymakers or standard setters, or if you're thinking about environmental NGOs, there are a lot of concerns around these technologies, and we need to make sure that they are as environmentally benign as possible, and we need to make sure that from an environmental justice standpoint, that we're not creating any additional harm in the environment. So a lot of work to do and a lot of communication, but it's complex topics, and it's tough where we're playing right now.
Of course.
I had a question just kind of on that point of this molecular recycling aspect. Do the companies kind of, once I maybe get that feedstock or that sort of regenerated material, you could say maybe, is it known that this started from post-consumer and now it's been completely like recycled, or?
Great question. Thank you, actually, for bringing that up. One thing that's really important we found is that trying to get certification so that we can more clearly talk about what we're doing, because in some cases, this matters a lot to brands. Brands have a lot of commitments for recycled content goals. But what Eastman is doing and where a lot of this work is happening is through highly validated and accredited third-party certification systems so that we can make sure that we're accounting appropriately for the recycled content that's coming in instead of virgin material, and then what we're producing on the back end. But it's all a little bit new and different. So that's where we are today.
Wow.
Great.
That's enlightening.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Holly. We really appreciate you being here with us today, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your Circularity 23 experience.
Thank you. It's been fantastic so far.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Enjoy the week.
Appreciate it.
Yep.